Shulchan Aruch says, on Lag Bomer, you increase a little bit the joy. Vein omrim tachnun. Now you don't say tachnun. Why? Sha'os posku talmidei Rabbi Kiva malamut. Shulchan Aruch doesn't mention anything about the Rashbi. He says that's the day when the talmidei Rabbi Kiva, they stop dying. The papers are underneath your thing there. Oh, the papers are over there. Thank you. That's the day the talmidei Rabbi Kiva died. And the Ariya Kodesh adds that that's the yortzeit of the Rashbi. So when a tzaddik dies, you make a simcha? Very hard to understand, right? So let's talk about it. What's the inyan of the fire, or what's behind the simcha? When a tzaddik dies, you should mourn. The Rashbi passed away. Why are you celebrating? And why with a fire? There's a pasuk in Pasha Zolta Bracha, Eish Dat. The Torah is compared to what? To a fire. Eish Dat. In Zolta Bracha, Rashi says, Tuva Eish Chora al Eish Lavana. The Torah was written on black fire, on white fire. The Torah was given b'tocha eish. The Torah was written with fire. So that just begs the question, Chava, why is the Torah symbolized by what? By fire. The Rashbi passed away. He revealed the fiery Torah when he died. There was a fire in his house, the Amud Eish. But that just begs the question, why is the Torah represented by what? Eish Dat. The answer is that the Torah is compared to fire. Because fire, if it's managed properly, can be very constructive. If it's not handled properly, fire can be destructive. Torah is the same way. An amazing Gemara in Yuma, page 72. A guy can be a Torah scholar. Zocha, the Torah for him is Samachayim. Loi Zocha, Chas Shalom Samamovet. The very same Torah is like fire, Rabbi Yaakov. Fire can be constructive, but it can be very destructive. If fire is managed properly, it's constructive. Otherwise, it can destroy. Torah is the same way. If a person studies Torah and he has no midot, then the Torah will destroy him. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, this is it. These 7 weeks, why do we mourn? Sphira is supposed to be a happy time. Avram, why do we mourn? Sphira is a happy time. You're counting up to Kabbalah Satorah. What are we mourning? Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. They were great Torah scholars, but they didn't have Midot Tovot, so the Torah for them was what? A destructive fire. That's why you're right to light my fire.
Was the first temple period before Rabbi Akiva a happy period?
Well, of course, up until Rabbi Akiva's student died, Rabbi Yaakov, there was a happy time. You're counting up to Kabbalah Torah. But these Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, they were so great, they were so heavenly minded, they were no earthly good. So the fire of the Torah consumed them. So therefore the Torah is compared to what? To a fire. Wow, where was Rabbi Akiva? We'll talk about it. Now, the Torah, the Mishnah tells us, Hamahalach baderech v'shoneh u'maftik m'shnosoi v'omar ma noa ilan zeh v'tchai v'nafsho. No, I'm not up to the sheets yet. The Mishnah says in Masechta Avot that if someone is walking on the road and studying Torah, and he interrupts David to admire the scenery, harei zeh mischai v'nafsho. You hear this? The Mishnah Masechta Avot, Peri Gimel. If you're walking on the road and you're learning and you stop studying Torah to admire the beautiful orchard or whatever, mischai v'nafsho. You are a sinner. Why? Yeah, why are you a sinner? And just the opposite. The Rambam says that one of the ways to love God is to be a nature lover. So can the Rambam contradict the Mishnah? The great rabbis were nature lovers. Because to love God, you have to admire his handiwork. So the Mishnah is saying, if you are studying Torah and you think admiring nature is stopping to study, that's wrong.
Who's saying that?
I'm saying that. The Mishnah says, Umafsik. If you're putting God in a box You think God is only in the Gemara. God is not found in a beautiful butterfly. You got a big problem. You hear? That's why on Lag BaOmer, by admiring nature, Rabbi Akiva and his Talmidim and the Rashbi, we go out. Don't put God in a box. We have to perceive God in every aspect of creation. We have to sanctify all of creation. God is not only in the book. God is not just in yeshiva. If you have the right hashkafa, you never stop Torah. To see God in every event, understand that every element of existence reflects spiritual truth, even a beautiful rose or a butterfly. You extend the Torah's truth beyond the confines of the yeshiva. That was the problem with Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim, David. They put God in a box. God is found in the yeshiva. When you go out into the street, he's not there. That's a terrible sin.
It's a mistake.
That's a mistake. If you think by admiring nature you are stopping to study Torah, that's a fatal mistake. A Jew has to know, if he has the right hashkafa, he never stops studying Torah. If you admire a butterfly or a rose and you have the proper intention, you're still studying Torah. Because the same God that made the Gemara or the Talmud is the same God who created the rose. If you have the proper hashkafa, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, you never stop studying Torah. The Talmidei Rabbi Akiva made a fatal mistake, Chava. They tried to put God in the box of the yeshiva. Admiring beauty is like fire. Light my fire, light my fire. Admiring beauty can be constructive, David, or chas v'sholom, admiring beauty can be what? Destructive. You make the call. Oh, don't you see the light my fire? What's going on over here? Torah, admiring nature. Like BaOmer, you go out and you admire nature. Are you wasting Torah? Are you wasting time? It depends. What is your hashkafa? Who made the rose? Who made the butterfly? The greatest rabbis were nature lovers. They never stopped studying Torah, even on a hike, if you have the proper hashkafa. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva had a fatal error, and it cost them dearly. Now, the Mishnah says in Masechta Avos, chapter 6, Yehuda, Rabbi Meir says, if you study Torah Lishma, Oev Hashem, Oev Habriot, Misameach Hashem, Misameach Habriot. The purpose of studying Torah, says Rabbi Meir, is to make people happy, to love people, and to love God. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva made a fatal error. They were only interested in what? In my own steiging. Who cares about you? To Rabbi Meir, who came along later, David, no. Talmud Torah, you have to love people and make people happy. If you don't love people, what good is your Talmud Torah? So Torah is compared to fire. It can be very constructive, or God forbid, it could be what? You make the call. Now, please turn to your sheet, side number 1. You have a sheet, David, side number 1. What's going on? Why are we mourning? Should be a happy time. And what's the simcha of Lag BaOmer? A rabbi passes away, you make a simcha? So if you look at side number 1, this is the Gemara in Yevamot, tells us the story, Yehuda, of why we're mourning during these weeks. The Baraisa records Rabbi Akiva, the principal himself. You see that on the left side? Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of disciples. You have that?
Second paragraph.
Second paragraph. Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of disciples. Why not just say 24,000? Huh? Why say 12? I can multiply 12,000 times 2.
Because they were in pairs.
Why did he have to what? You try to pair them off.
They were chavruta.
Chavruta, right? What were they learning? What were they learning? Not the right thing, right? Extending from Gibas until Antiparas. Why is that important where they were? Who cares where they were? Why is that important where the Talmidim were? You'll see in a minute why that's important.
Sounds like it's the whole world. It's the whole world somehow.
And they all died during this period because they did not treat each other with respect. I can't get no respect. Who said that? Rodney Dangerfield? I get no respect? What? They were great Torah scholars, but they didn't treat each other with respect. So therefore, Yechayiv Mitah. because you didn't treat each other with respect. Huh?
I went to school, I came home, my parents had moved.
Oh. Rodney Dangerfield. Oh. I get no respect. I went to school, I came home, my parents moved. Get no respect.
My parents told me when I cross the street to look both ways, up and down.
Oh. Okay, so just because they didn't treat each other with respect, that's why they get such a terrible punishment. So the Riyah Kodesh says, there's a Mishnah in Masechta Sota, chapter 1. The way a person measures others is the way what? God measures him. So the Riyah Kodesh says, Talmidei Rabbi Akiva hitnagu bedin kosher echad l'sheni. They treat each other with strict din. They were not mevater, right? They held their ground. Therefore, midah keneged midah chas v'sholom against them. They conducted themselves with midah sadin against their fellow colleague. So God chas v'sholom conducted himself with them with midah sadin as well. They were so judgmental, so exacting and demanding, and that's not good, because if you treat your friend, you're judgmental all the time, exacting and demanding, then chas v'shalom, I think it's called boomerang. Boomerang. So it boomeranged on them, and they suffered such a terrible punishment. The greatest rabbis. So why is there a timeout on Lag BaOmer? We have a little bit of simcha. So the Riyah Kodesh says that all these Talmidim died. Let's continue the Gemara here. You see that? And the world was left barren of Torah. They all died until Rabbi Akiva came to our rabbis in the south and taught them Torah. Who are the new rabbis that he taught? Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon on top of the page, and Rabbi Elazar. And it's these later disciples who upheld the Torah study. The Riyah Kodesh says that when did Rabbi Akiva ordain these new disciples? When? On Lag BaOmer. These new disciples that saved the Torah, there was a desolation. All the rabbis died out. You see how soon? And Rabbi Akiva ordained all of these great new rabbis, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, and his friends. That ordination that took place on Lag BaOmer, and the Torah Shabbat was saved, and that's the Eshat Torah. And that's another reason we light my fire when on Lag BaOmer. That's the day when he ordained these new Talmidim. Can you imagine Rabbi Akiva? He lost so many disciples. He could have thrown in the towel. He could have fallen into despair. Did he give up? No. He didn't give up. If at first you don't succeed, keep on trucking. He was an old man already. He didn't give up, David. Right? You don't give up. You continue, yes? Well, let's talk. Let's talk. Can we talk? Who said that? John Rivers. We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll talk. Now, how did these people, these great Talmidim, die? How did they die? Okay? They didn't give each other kavod. The Gemara says they didn't give each other kavod. What does the word kavod mean? No, what does literally the word kavod mean? Heavy. There's an English saying, he's a heavy. You ever hear that, Yochanan, no? In Brooklyn, when we said a VIP, we said, he's a heavy dude.
Not somebody allowed to.
He's heavy, not that he allowed it. Kavod. Each person has a heavy presence. He has a chelik elahai mimal. Every person has a godly soul. He's a heavy. Each person is special and unique, is custom made. If you don't give each other kavod, you don't acknowledge that I'm a heavy, that I have a godly soul, then oy vay vay. Oy vay vay. Now, how did they die? If you turn over the paper on the other side, how did they die? Let's take a look. Now, before we get to side number 3, I think it says side number 3. No, Yehuda? It says side number 3. We're all on the same page. Baruch Hashem. Now, like my fire, we play with fire, a fiery Torah for fiery people, right? It says in in the Torah, Deuteronomy 33, Mimino Eish Dat. God gave us a fiery Torah. Right? So the Gemara in Beitzah 25 says, God says the Jewish people are worthy that I should give them a fiery Torah. Because the Jewish people are on fire. And if I don't give them a fiery Torah, then they'll destroy each other. You hear this? The fire of Torah is supposed to temper our fire. Make it a constructive fire and not what? A destructive fire. And the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, they played with fire, Yehuda? They played with fire? And they got burned. If you play with fire, you might get burned. Now, look at side number 3, Halacha Gimel. And this is the secret how they died. This is the Rambam, Hilchas Malachim, Perek Yud Aleph, Halacha Gimel. You have it, Yehuda. Side number 3. It's the Rambam, Hilchas Malachim, Halacha Gimel. There's a check there. The Mashiach be a miracle worker, hocus pocus. Look at Halacha Gimel. Val yal al datcha, sha'amelach Mashiach tzorech lasat oisos amayvsim. Don't think that the Mashiach is going to be a hocus pocus. Mashiach is not going to perform any signs or wonders. You hear this? How do I know? Umechadesh devarim ba'olam or mechayim meitim. He will not resurrect the dead. That's not his job. Ein adover kach. You see that, Yehuda? It's not so. Mashiach will not perform any miracles. How do I know? How do I know? Rebecca Golden, how do I know? Look inside. Shirei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, Chacham Godla V'Chachmei HaMishnah Hoya. The greatest sage of the Mishnah was Rabbi Akiva. V'hoyanoi Shekelov Sheben Koziba HaMelech. You hear this? And Rabbi Akiva was the arms bearer of Bar Kochba.
I know. So
The greatest rabbi who ever lived beside Holy Moses was Rabbi Akiva, and he was the Nosek Kalov. He was the arms bearer for whom? Bar Kochba.
He thought Bar
V'hu haya Omer olav shu melech HaMashiach. David, hope you're looking inside. Rabbi Akiva testified that Bar Kochba was the Mashiach.
wasn't.
Read the text, please. Hoya Omer olav shu melech HaMashiach. He testified, the greatest rabbi who ever lived besides Holy Moses made a terrible mistake. Even rabbis can make mistakes. He testified that Bar Kochba was what? The Mashiach. V'dimohu v'chol chachmei doro, and not just Rabbi Akiva, all of the sages of that generation agreed that Bar Kochba was the Melech HaMashiach. When did he know that he's not? At shenerak bavonot. If you're dead, you can't be Mashiach. Some people say, don't confuse me with the facts. Once he was dead, then he's not the Mashiach.
Better not read this at 770.
Kivin shenerag, once he was killed, once he was dead, noidalem she'eno. If you're dead, you can't be the Mashiach. But while he was alive, Rabbi Akiva and all the rabbis testified that Bar Kochba was the Mashiach. And the rabbis never asked him for what? Wonder of wonder, miracles of miracles. They never asked him for signs and miracles. And yet they all thought that what? When did they know that he wasn't? If you're dead, you can't be the Messiah. But some people say, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. Yes?
I thought Rabbi Akiva said that Shabtai Tzvi was the
Oh, please. Read the text. Shabtai Tzvi was centuries later. I'm a text man. We got to go by the text. Rabbi Akiva was a contemporary of Bar Kochba, and he testified that Bar Kochba 2,000 years ago was the Mashiach, and he didn't ask him for no signs and no wonders. When did he know that he wasn't? When he was dead. Now, what has it got to do with us? Yes?
Okay.
Right?
If he was the arms bearer for Bar Kochba,
Right.
so maybe the students got killed in
Oh.
the war. I read that.
Mickey was mechavein to the Rav Hai Gaon. Miki was mechavein to Rav Hai Gaon. Rav Hai Gaon says that Rabbi Kiva ran a Hesda Yeshiva. The first Hesda Yeshiva. Rabbi Kiva was a super Haredi, but he ran a Hesda Yeshiva. And Rav Hai Gaon says that Rabbi Kiva's students were killed in the Bar Kokhba revolt. Yiddish, Abraham, you know what's going on over here? Rabbi Kiva's students were killed in the Bar Kokhba revolt. Rabbi Kiva, he supported Bar Kokhba. He said he's the Mashiach. So his Talmidim from the Hesda Yeshiva all became what?
Soldiers.
Soldiers. And they got killed when the rebellion was crushed. Now, why did Rabbi Akiva proclaim Bar Kokhba Mashiach? Why now? Let's have some historical background, Shoshana. We know when the first temple was destroyed, Jeremiah prophesied that the second temple was going to rebuild 70 years later. Jeremiah, the prophet, not the bullfrog. He prophesied that after Chorban Bayit Rishon, 70 years later, the Yidden are going to come back and rebuild what? Second. Yirmiyahu said it, Doniel said it. There was a precedent that after 70 years, there'll be a new Beis HaMikdash. When did the Bar Kokhba rebellion break out? 65 years after the Chorban Bayit Sheni. Fasten your seatbelts. Bar Kokhba rebellion broke out 65 years after Chorban Bayit Sheni. Rabbi Akiva thought, played against him. Rabbi Akiva thought that Chorban Bayit Sheni was also Bayit. There's going to be only 70 years. Kamo Chorban Bayit Rishon. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva sent his Talmidim in the Hesda Yeshiva to support the rebellion, Rav Hai Gaon says, because Rabbi Akiva felt that just like Chorban Bayit Sheni was 70 years after Chorban Bayit Rishon, Rabbi Akiva thought that Chorban Bayit Sheni is also going to be what?
70 years.
So therefore, just like the Bayit Sheni was rebuilt after 70 years of the Chorban, now it's 65 years after Chorban Bayit Sheni, now there'll be a Bayit Shlishi. And it's 65 years. In another 5 years, we got to make it happen. So Rabbi Akiva encourages Talmidim to join the what? The rebellion. And they all died. They got killed and the rebellion was crushed. Rabbi Akiva made a fatal mistake. Why was it crushed? They had no covet for each other. They had no respect for each other. So therefore it failed. If the Talmidim were properly conducting themselves with kavod, Bar Kokhba could have been the Messiah. The Messiah could have been here 2,000 years ago. That means no Holocaust. And it means no bus bombings either. And no terrorism. Rabbi Akiva could have been right, but the Talmidim let him down. They had no proper kavod for each other. The fire of Torah burned them. So therefore the rebellion was crushed. It could have been. He could have been. But you see the timing, David. 65 years after Chorban Bayit Sheni, Rabbi Akiva proclaimed that this man, Bar Kokhba, is the Messiah. In 5 years we're going to have a third temple. David, we have a precedent because the second temple was built what? After 70 years of the Chorban, the first temple. Now we're approaching 65 years to Chorban's second temple. It's very logical there'll be a third temple. And this man, Bar Kokhba, looked like he had the right credentials. And Rabbi Akiva never asked him to do any super-duper razzle-dazzle. So Rambam says, you see, that the Mashiach will not perform any what? Miracles. That's not his job. Not his job. Oh, so he sent his Talmidim to fight. So Rabbi Akiva, the super Haredi rabbi, David, ran a Hesda Yeshiva.
It was a Milchemes Mitzvah.
Milchemes Mitzvah. But they forgot one thing. They were very holy people. There's a pasuk in Parshas Mishpatim, Va'anshe Kodesh Tiyan Li. Before you're Kodesh, you have to be a mensch. Derech Eretz Kod Malat Torah. You can be very holy. But if you're not a mensch, if you're not a ben adam, you don't have proper midot, then the Torah will burn you like fire. Okay. Now, how many Talmidim did he have that were killed? 24,000. Where do we know that number 24,000? 24,000. The Zohar says something incredible, David. It ain't over till it's over. The great Tzaddik Rabbi Akiva, why did he suffer such a horrible death? The Romans, they raked his skin with iron combs because he led the rebellion. So him they captured alive, the Talmidim they killed in the war, him they caught alive, and they raked his skin with iron combs. Why did such a great tzaddik suffer such a terrible death? The Zohar says something amazing, David, that Rabbi Akiva was a Gilgal of Zimri. Zimri. You remember Bamidbar 24?
That's right.
The Jews were placed in a camp called Shittim next to Moab, and they began to commit sexual orgies with the wild Moabite women. Remember that?
Yeah.
Exodus, Bamidbar 24.
24,000.
Bamidbar 24,000 Shimonites and Zimri, they died because they committed Avodah Zarah and Gilead Ayot with the wild Moabite women. Says the Zohar that Rabbi Akiva was a Gilgal of Zimri. Who led them in their sin of immorality? Zimri, the prince of Shevet Shimon. How many went with him? 24,000. You hear this? So the Zohar says that Rabbi Akiva and these Talmidim were a reincarnation of Zimri and the 24,000 Shimonites who made a terrible Chilul Hashem. And therefore the Gemara Bracha says something strange. Rabbi Akiva said, Kol Yomai Mitztayer Al B'chol Nafshecha Mota Yovei Leyodai. Rabbi Akiva said, all of my life I've been waiting to die for Kiddush Hashem. Chava, no other rabbi said that. We're supposed to live for Kiddush Hashem. Why is Rabbi Akiva obsessed for dying with Kiddush Hashem? That's not v'chai. The greatest mitzvah is what? Staying alive, staying alive. So Rabbi Akiva, of all the great rabbis, says, all of my life I've been waiting to give my life to die for Hashem. Why? Because Rabbi Akiva knew that he's a Gilgal of what? Of Zimri, the prince of Shimon, who led the Shimonites in this sexual immorality with the Moabite women. So the tikkun for Chilul Hashem is to die for Kiddush Hashem. And these 24,000 Talmidim Rabbi Akiva, they were the 24,000 Shimonites that died with their prince, Shevet Shimon, by having this sexual immorality with the Moabite women. So it's a terrible Chilul Hashem. So the Mesaken of Chilul Hashem is by dying for Kiddush Hashem. Now, it's amazing, Rabbi Akiva began studying Torah when he was 40 years old. Yiddish, Rabbi Yaakov. Until 40 years old, he was an ignoramus. And not as an ignoramus, he said about himself, David, that he hated the rabbis with a passion. He became the greatest sage who ever lived. All because of what? The wife. Why am I standing in this line? My wife told me. So the great rabbi. What? Tell me the joke. My wife told me.
Everybody's in line to go to God. One line for men, one line for women.
Yeah.
And all the men are in one line, and then one little guy's over in the other line.
Yeah.
So how do you have the courage to be in this line? So my wife told me.
My wife told me, you see? Rabbi Akiva said that. Shali v'shalachem shalah. All of my Torah and your Torah belongs for her. Because she encouraged me. If it wasn't for her, David, he would be an ignorant shepherd all of his life. And because of the love of his wife, became the greatest sage who ever lived. But he testifies for himself until he was 40 years old. Not only was he an ignoramus, but he saw a rabbi, he hated him with a passion. So he began studying at 40. Right. The Ramchal, the great Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the great Kabbalist, he was 40 years old when he died. You know where he's buried? He said, when I die, bury me next to me.
Next to me.
Bury me next to me.
Bury who?
Ramchal, he was 40 years old. He was dying of a plague. And on his deathbed, he told his Talmidim, bury me next to me.
And who is me?
Where's he buried? Next to Rabbi Akiva. Oh.
It's the rabbi.
He was a Gilgal of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva began studying Torah when he was 40. The first 40 years he wasted. The Ramchal comes back and he dies on his 40th birthday. Kowinky dinky. He had to be metakein.
Rabbi's first 40 years.
He had to be metakein. The first 40 years that he wasted, David, he came back as the Ramchal, and when he hit 40, beam me up. He was and not only that, it's a Pella Shoshana. This great tzaddik and Mekuba Ramchal, he was hounded and persecuted. All the rabbis of Europe and Israel hounded him, hated him, and persecuted him. How could he be such a tzaddik, such a saint? He wrote the classic work of Tshuvat, Ramchal, Orchas Tzadikim, and all the classic Kabbalistic works. How come all the rabbis of his time hounded him and persecuted him? Mesilat Yesharim and Orchas Tzadikim. You know what he said? It's coming to me. Because when I was Rabbi Akiva, I hated and persecuted the rabbis. I think it's called boomerang. It ain't over till it's over. Rabbi Akiva, until he was 40, hated and persecuted the rabbis until he became the greatest. You hear this? So he had to come back as the Ramchal to be hated and persecuted by rabbis. That's the tikkun. And on his 40th birthday, he died. Why was who hated? Because he says, when I was Rabbi Akiva, I hated the rabbis. A person has free will. Oh, they thought he's a secret Shapsai Tzvinik. They accused him of being a secret Sabbathian. Remember, Shapsai Tzvi came out of the closet in 1666. The jig was up. The Ramchal lived in the early 1700s. So Shapsai Tzviniks went underground. So they said that this guy, he's such a brilliant Kabbalist and he's such a young man, he must be a closet Shapsai Tzvinik. And he was not. But David, why did the rabbis make this fatal mistake? They had to pay him back. Because he hated and persecuted the rabbis when he was Rabbi Akiva until he was 40. So God runs the show. We can't see it, Chava. So he himself was persecuted and hounded by the rabbis, and he died at 40 years old. So we see that what? We don't see the whole picture. We just see a tiny piece of the puzzle. We can't see the whole mosaic, right, Yehuda? So therefore we have questions. Questions. But this is the secret of the suffering of the righteous, says the Ramban, the Rabbeinu Bechai. If a righteous person suffers in this world, he must be a Gilgal. What does that mean? A reincarnation? What business is God in? The recycling business. A recycling business, right? We're all here to do what? Tikkunim. So we don't know. Now, the Chassam Sofer says something amazing. So why are we celebrating Lag BaOmer? When a tzaddik dies, you're not supposed to celebrate. He says the real reason for the celebration of Lag BaOmer is that's when the man began to fall in the Midbar. You look at Exodus 17. The Jews ate matzah for a month. Hope they didn't have to call Reuter. They had leftover matzah for a whole month.
You need some today.
Right?
Eat some today.
Today's Pesach Sheni.
Eat some matzah today.
They had leftover matzah for a month. The matzah ran out. So they cried for food. They complained. When did the man start to fall? Chayir. What's Chayir? Lag BaOmer. So that's the real reason for the joy. To celebrate the miracle of donuts from heaven. Don't you get it? So Chassam Sofer says, I don't understand. How come the Torah doesn't say so clearly? What's a greater miracle? Magic clouds or magic donuts? We have a holiday called Sukkot to commemorate the magic clouds that protected us in the Midbar. What's a greater miracle? Donuts from heaven or clouds from heaven? I'll take a Dunkin' Donut over a cloud any day.
That's a miracle.
Amen. You can live without magic clouds. You can't live without food. So the question is, why is there a 7-day Yom Tif Sukkot to commemorate what? The Ananei HaKavod, the magic clouds. And how come the Torah doesn't say anything about what? The man. I just told you. The best kept secret in town. If I didn't tell you, would you know that Lag Bomer, the man began to fall? You know, it's like a Watergate. It's like hidden. Remember Watergate? It's covered up. Why is it covered up? Why is there no official holiday in the Torah? Monday. Monday. So good to me. Monday. David, this is not a joke. Sam Sprecher asked this question. Right? You have a 7-day Yom Tif to commemorate the magic clouds that God gave us, called Sukkot. So you can't have a Yom Tif called Monday? It's a bigger miracle. You can live without clouds. You can't live without food. So why is it covered up?
You cannot live without the clouds.
Yes, you could live without clouds. But without food, you can't live. 3.5 million people in 40 years. There's no Motel 6, David. No Howard Johnson's. No 7-Eleven. There was a barren desert. Man is a much greater miracle than what? Than magic clouds. So how come there's no Yom Tif to commemorate the man? Yes? You have a teretz? You have an answer?
Did the man start flying on Monday?
No, the man... It began on Yud Ches Iyar, which was Lag Bomer. Was it a Monday that day? I don't know. Maybe it was a Monday. Maybe that's why it's called Monday. Maybe it was a Monday. Could be. So the Sam Sprecher is something amazing. When we asked for the man, how did we ask? We complained, we bellyached. How do you say broigis? Ungeblusen. That's how you ask. You're hungry. You say, Abba, I need an allowance. You come, broigis, ungeblusen. That's how you ask for an allowance? So Sam Sprecher said if you would have asked in a nice way, like for the magic clouds, you would have got another 7-day holiday. Spend 7 days of Monday at the hotel. Another 7-day vacation. But since we were upset, angry, bellyache, therefore God said, you lost. I could have used another 7 days off. Why not? He sent it, but no Yom Tif. The Yom Tif is like a Watergate, under the table, Lag Omer, you know, you don't know. You have to know how to ask. You don't ask broigis. How do you say that, David? Broigis. You have to know how to ask. Right, broigis. How do you say that in English? You have to know how to ask a parent. It's coming to you. Abba, please, I'm hungry. Help me. No, they complain. Better in Egypt. Let's go back to Egypt. We lost it. The magic clouds, we asked in a nice way. So we blew it, David. We blew it. We could have used another 7 days off.
Did we ask for the cloud?
What? We asked for protection. Because the sun was beating down on us. Right? They asked for it. They asked. So God made us cabins, and he also made magic clouds. We asked, Abba, it's very hot. Right? It's hot, and we need shade. So we asked in a nice way, so we got sukkahs. For the man, we complained. I think it's called kvetching. We like to kvetch. We kvetched, and therefore we lost it, David. We lost it. Pretty interesting. Yes? The magic clouds went with us. The Ananei HaKavod. Magic clouds went with us. And so did the magic donuts from heaven. That's a bigger nace, because you can't live without food. But since we kvetched, David, we lost out. Okay? Now, so why do we light fires? It's the yortzeit of the Rashbi. There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam. The candle of God is the soul of a human being. Therefore, the yortzeit, what do you light? A candle. So the yortzeit of the Rashbi, we light a giant candle. He's the Rabbi of Am Yisrael. He was Rabbi Kiva's favorite Talmud, the good one. When the others got killed, he was the good one. So therefore, the Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam. So we light a candle for the Rashbi because the human soul is compared to what? A candle of God. Because a flame always goes up. If you take a candle, put it like this, David, the flame will what? Try it. The flame will go up. Because the godly soul goes up. The wax melts. The body decomposes, but the godly soul is indestructible. That always what? So the Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam Apostle Mishlei. So the giant Yotzai candle, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, is the bonfire for what? For the Rashbi. The Rashbi. Nahon? So normally, when a person dies, it's a sad time, right? But the Talmud says when a tzaddik dies, Gemara in Moed Katan 28, Rabbi Aaron, when a tzaddik niftar, Kodesh Baruch Hu mesameach im hanashama kechatan im hakala. When a tzaddik dies, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, reunited, and it feels so good. When a tzaddik dies, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sameach with the neshama kechatan im hakala. The death of a tzaddik is called hilula. You know what hilula means? A wedding. A wedding? Hilula in Aramaic means a wedding. The yortzeit of a tzaddik is hilula. Because that's when God and the tzaddik, what, David? Reunite. So therefore, when a tzaddik dies, his yortzeit is a simcha. Because he's reunited with the boss. He's reunited with the boss. That's pretty amazing, huh? Now, the Rashbi, according to Kabbalah, David, fasten your seatbelts. This is the Rashbi in the Zohar. This world, you know, in Jewish law, wedding consists of two stages, Erusin and Nisuin, right? In Jewish law, a wedding consists of betrothal and consummation of the marriage, right, David? Erusin and Nisuin. The Rashbi says, according to Kabbalah, this world is like an erusin between us and God. It's betrothal. But betrothal, chassan and kala can't be together. Even though they're married, Chava, erusin and chassan and kala can't be together. Only in the world to come is the nisuin. The nisuin means what? Wedding. The consummation of the wedding. Wow. So this world is a betrothal. The world to come, afterlife, is the marriage of God and what? And the tzaddik. So therefore, the Rashbi said, on my yortzeit, it's a simcha. Because reunited and it feels so good. Reunited with the boss. Right? Yes?
You said you were going to tell us why they mentioned the two cities.
Oh, why they mentioned the two cities. Thank you for reminding. If you read the historians of the day, Josephus, you see that if you get back to sheet number 1, David, Yehuda, sheet number 1, where did the disciples live? See sheet number 1? 12,000 disciples from Givat until Antiparas. The historians, Josephus says that's where the revolt took place. The Bar Kokhba rebellion was Migivat and Antiparas. So it fits in. That's where the rebellion broke out. So therefore the 12,000 Talmidim were killed there. So therefore it's telling me geographical location, because that's where the Bar Kokhba rebellion took place, at the place called Givat until Antiparas. Otherwise it wouldn't be important for us to what? To know it. Now, there's a custom. If you go to Moron on Wednesday night, Chava, be 500,000 people there. There's a custom that they burn clothes on his kever. Do you know that? Yeah. Do you know that? It's a bizarre custom. On the grave of the Rashbi, they burn clothes. Now, why do they do that? Isn't it Baltashchis? You can't destroy something that a person can use. And yet, Api Kabbalah, you're permitted even to encourage to what? To burn clothes on the kever of the Rashbi on his yahrzeit. Why? To answer this question, I will what? Another question. Why lo yaleinu on Avel? Why does he tear his clothes? Lo yaleinu. There are many reasons. According to Kabbalah, it's a nachama for the Avel. My beloved relative, his body is all torn. But is that him? Is my shirt me? David, is my shirt me? My shirt is only a cover. It's not me. It's only clothing. My beloved relative, his body is all torn. But that's not him. That's only what? His shirt. Did you know that, Chava? Good thing you came today. That's the Kabbalistic reason. Lo yaleinu, when a relative dies, you tear your shirt. It's nachama for the person. My beloved relative is not all torn. That's just his shirt. The shirt is not be Yehuda. So my relative's body is not him. That's just his what? His covering. And therefore, according to Kabbalah, there's a minhag to burn clothes on the kever of the Rashbi, because the Rashbi taught this. The burning clothes is meant to remind us that the physical body is just like a garment that the soul wears. We are not our bodysuit. Don't get too attached to your garment. The garment can burn up. A person gets lo yaleinu in Auschwitz, his body got burned up. Is that him? That's just his garment. Don't get too attached to your garment. That's not me. I'm a soul man. The body is just my spacesuit that I wear. When Neil Armstrong was on the moon, David, remember that? July 69, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I remember that. You couldn't fool me. I knew that Neil Armstrong was not that funny-looking spacesuit. Did you think that Neil Armstrong was that spacesuit? Did you? No, I knew that that's just his suit. He was inside. That's the exact body and soul. The body is our spacesuit that we use to be down here. But when my spacesuit gets burned up or torn up, I leave. I'm not put in the ground. That's my spacesuit. We are all astronauts over here. God has a mission for us. Like Neil Armstrong on the moon, the other guy, Buzz Aldrin. Remember him? Buzz Aldrin? The spacesuit was not Buzz Aldrin, was it?
No.
But he had to wear that to maneuver on the moon. We also have to wear a spacesuit. To maneuver where, David? What's our spacesuit called? The body. But that's not me. Oh, that. Don't confuse me with my spacesuit. So the Rashbi taught that. So you burn clothes on his grave. Right? The person is not burned up. The body is torn, but that's not me. I'm a godly soul. When my body gets torn or burned, I leave. Therefore, a dead person in Hebrew is called a niftar. Yaakov Goldman, no, a dead person in modern Hebrew, what does a niftar mean? Release. It means release, because the person is released. I'm no longer in my bodysuit. I'm released. Yes?
Why don't they just do kriya? Why don't they burn the clothes?
Okay.
Why don't
This is the idea, because many Jews were burned, Nebuch, in Auschwitz and all the pogroms. So a person might think that the person is burned up. So Rashbi says, no, burn clothes. The person is not his clothes. He's the godly soul that's indestructible.
Are there any special clothes that they
The Sfardim do it. I wouldn't suggest it, but they have a minhag to do that, and it's not called Bal Tashchis, even though what normally it is, because it's not derech hashchata. It teaches David a moral lesson. That even though the body is burned up, but that's not the person. The person is his what? His godly soul. We make a mistake. We think a person, when he dies, he goes to sleep. The Zohar says the opposite. When you die, you wake up. The Rashbi, who wrote the Zohar, said that when you die, you wake up. The sensation is, the first moments after death, like you woke up from a dream. Life is but a dream. Da, la, 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 la. Life is but a dream, right? So the Zohar says when you die, you feel like you what? You woke up.
I think this requires a course of release.
What?
Release.
No, niftar means release. Amazing that the Hebrew word for a dead person, even, it's not a Hebrew word, it's Aramaic. The word niftar that the Talmud uses is used in modern Hebrew. It's an Aramaic word. It means to be released. It's just amazing. A dead person, in a lot of Hebrew, is called a niftar. You look at, ask any Ulpan teacher, the word niftar doesn't mean dead. It means, please release me, let me go. Because the person is released. He's no longer trapped in his bodysuit. Isn't that incredible? Death is not a sleep. It's an awakening. Who taught that? The Rashbi. That's what the Zohar is all about. That's what the Zohar is all about, David.
That's where the Catholics got it from. Awake, they call it awake.
Oh,
Dead body.
the Catholics, awake. They got everything from us, David. They stole everything from us. It's just amazing.
Right.
I got to write this down. I got to write this down. Just amazing. They stole everything. It's called awake.
Yeah, that's right.
Did they know that the Zohar says this?
Two separate words, though.
Why does the Pope wear a kippah?
Oh, the Pope wears a kippah. What? Oh, okay. Yes? Why can't you cut your hair?
No, wrong. They cut their hair.
Oh, they take a kid that's 3 years old, right? Like Omer. Why dafka 3? Why dafka 3? Like Orla, right? You can't cut the fruit for 3 years, right?
I read somebody yesterday says if the kid can't see, they can do it sooner.
Yeah. But really, why 3? I'll tell you a practical reason. Because until 3, the child's skull is very soft. So the scissors might a boo-boo. So after 3 years old, the skull is already what? Hard, and it won't hurt him. That's the real reason why you wait till 3. But why at the Kever the Rashbi? That I don't know. But that's the real reason why I wait till 3, because Chazal, they figured out that before 3, the skull is very soft, and the barber might make a boo-boo and damage the kid's brain. After 3, the skull is already hardened enough where it won't hurt him. Okay? Thank you very much.